Hello, everyone. I hope you had a great spring break. Some relaxing time. It's as I'm doing this, it's only the first day of spring break, so we have a decent day today, but not super warm. But anyway, I'm trying to put this stuff together, so it'll be ready for you guys when you come back from spring break. So anyway, as you're watching this, I'm sure it's spring break's over unless you started early. We're going to move on with our screenwriting lesson 2. Um, you will be writing a 20-page, very short screenplay. 20 is the max, not much less than that. You're going to kind of stick right in that area, give or take a couple pages. It's just kind of to give you a brief overview, kind of your first introduction to screenplay writing. And maybe some of you have already written one, and that's great. If you have, then you're a step ahead. So let's review lesson 1, which was the week before spring break. And I'm just going to be, just briefly summarize that. So screenwriting is a visual medium. We're thinking visually, which is what we've been doing all semester with your documentaries, your packages, your PSAs, and your commercials. Is if we were actually going to produce any of this stuff, obviously we would be going out and shooting it, and that would be really cool. But that's not the purpose of this class. I think you have other classes that you do that. So it's visual. We have to always be thinking visually. What is the viewer seeing? Events are revealing themselves in action. Same thing. You're going out and shooting, you're showing action, things happening. The story has a very distinct beginning, middle, and end. The story has a plot, and there's a subplot. We haven't done that, obviously, in the things we've done so far because we've been doing documentary, which is true story. Screenwriting can be a true story. It can be based on a true story, or it can be completely fiction. But in your 20-page piece, you're going to have a subplot. That means there's another little story going on at the same time as your major plot. A lot of times in movies, the subplot is often like a romance. And if that's how you want to do it, that's fine. It doesn't have to be. It could be maybe a tension between a family member that needs to get resolved. There's a lot of different things you can do. Okay, your screenplay has to have a tone. That means a feel. It has to have a feel to it. Like the birds, and I'm going to talk about the birds a lot in this lecture because you all just watched it. So we're all on the same page. I can think of a lot of different movies. I like classic movies. I'm obviously probably a lot older than most of you, so I'm going to go back to a lot of the movies that were more meaningful to me, and you've probably been watching lots of great movies in the last 20 years and last 10 years when you were more grown up. So we're not going to necessarily be on the same films. So we're going to talk about The Bird since you just watched it. I don't know if any of you had seen it before. It's one of my favorite classic movies. It's a classic Alfred Hitchcock. Maybe it seemed old-fashioned to you. Probably my experience teaching, which I've been teaching, I think this is my 11th or 12th year, is not a lot of students are into classic movies. Once in a while I'll get one. But the golden age of film was, in the 30s and 40s, and kind of petering out in the 50s. So there's so much to learn from watching classic movies. They're making a lot of great films now. There's a lot of, the CGI has really changed things. To me, it kind of makes it easier. But anyway, we're going to talk about the birds. So let's talk about the tone, the feel of the birds. So the irony is we have this beautiful California coast, and it's gorgeous, and it looks peaceful, and it's this little town of Bodega Bay, and it looks so quaint, and like you just love to go there for a weekend. But the tone is there's this menacing natural event happening at the same time. So it's the irony of these two together. So that's the tone. Everything looks so nice. The Brennan's home is so cute, and it's on the water, and Melanie Daniels is so beautiful and so stylish, and the town looks so nice, and the little cafe looks so fun to go to and everything. But there's this menacing these menacing creatures ruining the whole effect. So that's the tone. Um, the movement is in that film is more normally paced. It's not extra fast and it's not extra slow as some films might be. Um, I don't know if you've ever seen any Clint Eastwood films from the past, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. There were three, A Few Dollars More, and then there's a third one. My son likes Clint Eastwood, so I've watched some of those with him. They're westerns, um, shot in the 70s. They're very slow. They move very slowly. Um, and then you'll think of movies like The Action Adventure, um, some that Will Smith has been in, and they move very quickly. So I would say um, the movement of the birds is just a more normal movement. It's more kind of methodical. We go from one bird incident to another bird incident. We know they're going to keep getting worse. The location, in this case, it's a small seaside town north of LA. The dramatic intent is the agenda of the writer. What's the agenda of the writer? This was based on a book, actually, and Alfred Hitchcock. It loosely based on a book where the birds just suddenly turn against the people. So what's the agenda of the writer? That nature is unpredictable. We don't know. Weird things can happen, and nature can turn on us. Of course, this is extreme, and this has never happened with birds, with seagulls. But I mean, it's suspense, it's horror. It's not always realistic. And the point of view. Who do we root for in the movie? In this case, we're rooting for the people, or we should be. We might not like Melanie Daniels for whatever reason. We might not like her. We might not like the mother, Lydia, because she seems kind of snotty. Um, Probably most of us like the little girl, Kathy. We like the teacher, Annie, because she seemed nice and kind of cool. And, so anyway, that's part of a film. Who do you root for? The genres, and you're probably pretty familiar with genres: comedy, which could be dark or romantic, drama, a sci-fi fantasy, action adventure, family or horror, suspense. Um, and there's like indie films and stuff as well. So that's the genre. The four P's to the story are the people, who are your characters, place, where does it take place, the picture, meaning what images do we see, what color, textures, movement, that kind of thing, and the plot. What are the story's pivotal moments? What's happening? So that's the review of Lesson 1, which you watched last week. And Lesson 2, we're going to just go on from there a little bit. We're going to talk about your idea. You may already have one, and that's great. If you don't, you will have to develop one this week. And again, it's only a 20-page screenplay, so it's not a huge project. It's just kind of to get your feet wet. If you're going to be taking further screenplay classes in your program, I'm not sure. Some people, this is just an elective. Some of you will be taking the 500 level class. So if you have an idea already, what do you like about your idea? Do you think others will like it too? Are there other people like you that have your point of view, that share your views in entertainment or politics or personal relationships? One very common and well-liked genre is the romantic comedy. And why are they so popular? Is because everybody wants to find love. Everybody is looking for somebody to share their lives. So it's always, people enjoy that. Just like the episodic show The Bachelor. A lot of the young people like that. Why? Because everyone wants to find love. They want to find a partner to go through life with. Sci-fi is very popular because people like to escape reality. Life can be hard. Sometimes it's fun to just watch something and escape reality, and it's super unrealistic and fantastic and fun and crazy, and that's another genre that people like. So which genre does your idea fit in? Is there an audience for it? People like it. Because if you create something that there's no audience for, I mean, for this assignment, it's not as important, obviously, unless you plan on really developing your idea and selling it, then that's great. But I mean, I think it's good to write for an audience even now if you're going to develop in this area of screenplay writing. So is there an existing movie that is similar to your idea? If so, you can think about that movie and how it was done and who the audience was, and which genre you feel like it fits into. You want to connect with your audience through universal passions that we all have as humans is love, hatred, joy, hope, awe, fear, betrayal, revenge, triumph. So you want to have those passions, some of those woven through your piece to draw people to it. We like feeling love, we like feeling anger, the tension, joy, awe, um, all of those things. When you're creating your characters, create some backstories for them. Maybe just write it on paper. It's not necessarily going to be in your screenplay, but you're kind of developing who they are as a person. What are your characters' convictions and beliefs? Um, what is their education level? What's their family background? What's their geographic location? Their key past events, their past successes and failures, and their phobias. What's their profession? Their quirks, their talents. What's the time period? So, talking about the birds, what are their convictions or beliefs? It seemed like Melanie was kind of a woman about the world. She had a lot of money. She didn't seem like she worked. She had a rich father, and seemed like she was about having a good time and had a lot of confidence in herself. Education level, I don't know what we didn't really, I don't think we really learned that. She seemed more refined. So, her family background was she was from a wealthy family. She was from California, the LA area. What past events? Remember, she talked about how her mother kind of abandoned her. Um, so that it really impacted. She was kind of insecure in a way. For all her confidence, she was kind of insecure. Past successes and failures. It sounds like she had done something weird in a fountain or something, and so she had some things that had happened that had kind of tarnished her reputation, which is what Mitch's mother didn't like about her. Phobias. We really didn't see any phobias with her. We can talk about Mitch's profession. It seemed like he was an attorney. So that's how he kind of knew a little bit about her past. Quirks. Maybe Lydia, the mother, I don't know if you call this a quirk, but she was mourning the loss of her husband and she felt kind of insecure and she was kind of clinging to her son. Time period, this was in it, since this film was made, I think in 62 or 63, it was a contemporary film of its time. It was made for that time period, which would have been the now of then. It wasn't a period piece like some, in terms of it was created during a different time period. So anyway, so for your idea, you want to write out your different characters and then explain a little bit about them, all these different things about them. Okay, creating a tone. A tone is going to be the kind of the feel, what it feels like. So again, this one we talked about the pace was just a normal pace. It kind of moved from once it got going, it kind of moved from one big event to the other, and it seemed like it got worse. She got pecked on the forehead. Then the schoolhouse, the birds were all congregating, and then the restaurant and the fire, and it seemed like these bird attacks kept getting worse. So it kind of like built suspense. The sounds and the colors, again, it was like this beautiful area, this beautiful bayside area. And so it was very appealing, like a place you'd want to go, except the birds, the sounds, the squawks, the hovering together. That was, so you had the good and the bad, this nice place that was getting affected by this natural disaster of these animals. The tension. There was some different tension. There was sexual tension between Melanie and Mitch. There was uneasiness between Melanie and Annie, because Annie was a former girlfriend of Mitch, so there was uneasiness there. There was definitely uneasiness between Melanie and the mother, Lydia, because Lydia really didn't approve of this girl at all. So that was probably the main, there was fear, a lot of fear of the birds. So that was the tension. All right, let's talk about the beginning of your story. Your story is going to begin when something unusual is going to happen. Every story begins and something happens. to make the story worth telling. You're just not going to be boring. Everybody's sitting around eating or watching television. Something has to happen. So in this movie, what happened was she's off chasing this Mitch, and a bird pecks her on the head. And that's kind of weird. So that's the beginning. And then all of a sudden they're congregating all over the place. So we know something is weird. Weird is happening with these birds. So we know that that's probably what the movie's going to be about. Of course, it's named the birds, so it's not really that big of a secret.